Welcome everyone, this is your host Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master. First of all, this channel is proudly sponsored by Rome, the historical role-playing game. Experience the glory and decadence of Rome like never before. You will find it in the description and in the pinned comment. This channel is also proudly partnered with the What the Funk shop. Please check out their store for all sorts of products. They have dice, miniatures, game master screens, fun decorations, and many other things. You will find the link in the description and in the pinned comment as well. And make sure that you use my code for a special discount. A moment, please, while I maximize. Mm, Here I am. Maximize. All right. Tonight I want to talk about something very curious that happens sometimes. It depends. Burnout. Not only with tabletop RPGs, but with any other hobby. Video games, painting miniatures, whatever. Any hobby. Because the human mind tends to do these gymnastics in order to avoid the issue. And throughout the years, of course, I am not that old. I'm 42 years old at the time of this video. But throughout the years, I have observed both in others and myself that usually the hobby is not to blame. It's usually some other underlying cause. So I hope that this video will provide some answers or some way to approach a major issue that is causing that so-called burnout. Because you see sometimes many videos or in some websites, in some magazines, etc., people are talking about these sorts of things, but they usually go to the technical stuff, like in the case of tabletop RPGs. Oh, maybe you need to change the system. Or in the case of video games, you have been playing a genre for too long, switch to another genre, etc., right? But when it comes to our hobbies, when you enjoy something, you usually always feel as if you cannot wait to play that tabletop RPG. You cannot wait to play that video game. In the case of tabletop RPGs, as a game master, dungeon master, you can't wait to design those adventures. Or if you are using a purchase module or pre-designed module, you want to modify things, you want to tweak them, or you want to leave things as they are, and you want to think about the many approaches that the player characters take when confronted with a particular enemy, hazard, investigation, social encounter. In the case of video games, you can't wait to play that level to try to see if you can finish that stage. You can't wait to see if you get yourself out of a particular mess that you get yourself into. Like just today, I accidentally in Dark Souls 3, I killed the main merchant, the woman that sells so many things to you. And I'm like, oh. So right now I'm thinking, I can get through this. I have to find a way to finish the game without needing to purchase things from that NPC, right? So you have to feel that excitement that how am I going to do this? How am I going to accomplish something? And of course, there are going to be some situations where, for example, in video games, some roguelike games where you see that the situation is simply impossible to save. So now you need to find a way to perhaps restart the game or whatever, right? But there's always that hunger for the hobby, for the excitement. You can't wait to do this or that. You can't wait to do, I don't know, maybe you build puzzles. You can't wait to build your next puzzle. Or like I said, maybe you paint miniatures, you play board games. You cannot wait to engage the hobby again. But when you feel like, oh, burnouts, I don't feel the energy to do this, or I don't feel enthusiastic about doing that, there's almost always, I would say 99% of the times, there is always some other issue. In the case of tabletop RPGs, maybe you're not satisfied with your group. Maybe you're a dungeon master or game master, and you are running things and you realize that the group is not invested in the experience as you are. Maybe they never show up or whatever, or maybe they forget about everything from session to session, whatever. And you start to feel like the drag, like you're dragging everyone along. Or in the case of video games, right? Maybe you simply do not have the time to practice a particular very difficult to play video game. So you either have to make changes to your schedule or and see what exactly is the problem that is keeping you from practicing that video game. Sometimes the video game runs its course and you don't want to play it anymore, right? You could say that it's a sort of burnout, but it's also related to other things. Maybe you spotted some flaws in the video game, like I said in tabletop RPGs. Maybe it's something rather related to the other people, but it's never. I would say it's never about the hobby. This could be like a big claim, and this is not to target specific things. Maybe you got fed up with rolling dice all the time, so you decide to employ cards. But it always makes it feel as if the thing that you enjoy doing, like you need a timeout from that. But there is never a timeout. If you love doing something, if you love employing whatever for your entertainment, it's usually not that thing. For example, I love fantasy role playing games and Dungeons and Dragons. I've been playing those games for pretty much all my life since I started to play tabletop RPGs. And there was never a moment where I thought, oh, you need to step away from Dungeons and Dragons or from whatever other fantasy system, right? Or horror. I love horror. Never felt the need to step away from the Cthulhu or Cthulhu mythos, Call of Cthulhu, Call of Cthulhu. Never felt that. Every single time you feel like you don't have the energy or the enthusiasm, it's because I would consider it your mind or perhaps your body telling you that the root cause lies in somewhere else. Your interaction with a particular player, or group of players, that also applies on the side of the players, right? Sometimes the way that the game master is running things or the other members of the group, you simply do not click. Maybe you're looking for a combat heavy experience, but you got into a Call of Cthulhu game where the characters are antiquarians and lawyers and professors, and they're not exactly like the best suited for combat situations. And the system itself is not like the best at handling physical combat unless you employ that combat all the time, unless you employ Pop Cthulhu or Cthulhu. It's doable, but not advisable, right? So it's always about those other things. So before you feel like, oh, I got burned out with tabletop RPGs or video games or whatnot. Like I said, maybe some other hobbies. Maybe you fly kites or control like race cars, remote control race cars, whatever. It's never the hobby. The hobby is never to blame. It's a very, very particular issue. And you will know that you have hit the bullseye when you take on that issue, you solve it in whatever way possible. And then you feel once again the excitement flowing. Like in the case of tabletop RPGs, maybe you don't like the group situation and you decide, no, this group is not for me. And you switch to another group. But if you start switching from group to group and you start to feel like it's a lackluster experience, maybe the issue lies with you, right? Maybe it's you that you are not putting the effort, right? Or maybe you are not sure what experience you want to have in tabletop RPGs, social encounters. Maybe you realize, oh, I was looking for combat encounters, but I didn't obtain that satisfaction. I was looking for social encounters. I also didn't feel like it scratched that itch. But then you have this game about survival and expeditions, not focusing too much on combat or in talking with a lot of people. It's more about resource management and climbing mountains. It's very realistic, and you suffer exertion and whatnot. And then again, that enthusiasm flows. So before you discard a hobby altogether, there's always some other issue. One time, a long time ago, it's not worth mentioning who did that, but I remember seeing a video of this guy. Was a very clownish guy, but he one time he said, you know, if you suddenly find yourself that you cannot paint miniatures or play war games, then abandon them altogether. It's there not for you. No, 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 no. Approach the issue. If you don't have time to paint miniatures, or if you don't have time to assemble the models, or play the war games or whatever, don't abandon the hobby. Try to pinpoint out to identify what exactly is taking me away from painting miniatures. What exactly is taking me away from assembling the models or even playing with others, right? And once you take care of that problem, the enthusiasm will return. And this is a very particular view of mine. I hope it was informative and entertaining. Let me know your thoughts on the so-called burnout. Do you think that there is actually a burnout that I had to abandon this hobby because I don't like it? Just to give before we wrap up this video, just to give some other examples, there were some well throughout the years there are similar cases. The people that stopped playing tabletop RPGs and they didn't realize that it was because they had some sort of, believe it or not, psychological trauma. I have been considering doing this as a sort of horror RPG story videos. Is that how you call them? Horror RPG stories? No, RPG horror stories, because I have seen this thing happen sometimes, but because the individuals were not exactly like the best people, I sometimes hesitate. Like, is it worth it to do a video like that, detailing that particular mythology that keeps people from enjoying the hobby, and perhaps even trying to frustrate others from enjoying the hobby as well? They try to keep them from enjoying the hobby. So maybe it's worth mentioning in a future video. Who knows? Who knows? But like I said, identify the other issue. There is always some other issue. Once you take care of that, maybe it's related to your personal life, interaction with friends and family, your job. Once you solve that situation, oh, it turns out that I was actually procrastinating, and wasn't doing my job on time, and I always ended up finishing things at the last moment. But now that I have better organization, did this or that, now I have time to play tabletop RPGs or play war games or paint miniatures or build houses of cards, whatever. So thank you once again for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, consider joining as a member using the Super Thanks button. Take a look at the information in the description and in the pinned comment. This has been your host, Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master. And remember, in tabletop RPGs, it's not about what you want your characters to do. It's about what your characters are doing. Once again, thank you and see you later.